The ultimatums. The silence in the massive grand chamber of the Galactic Council was oppressive as Director Elias Rhodes stood alone on the speaking platform. A solitary human among 23 alien species that collectively controlled over 8,000 star systems, Rhodes appeared remarkably composed despite the gravity of the situation. His weathered face, marked by decades of diplomatic service, betrayed nothing of Earth's desperate gamble. High Counselor Jerax, whose crystalline body refracted light in hypnotic patterns, leaned forward from the central dais. The translucent being's voice resonated through the chamber with artificial precision. The human delegation is recognized, Jerax announced, multifaceted eyes pulsing with barely concealed disdain. You may address the violations that have prompted this emergency session. Rhodes nodded, his silver-streaked hair catching the ambient light as he activated the holographic display embedded in his palm. Above him, Earth appeared, a blue marble suspended in darkness, seemingly insignificant compared to the vast territories controlled by the other council members. Esteemed representatives, Rhodes began, his voice steady despite the hostile atmosphere, I come not with excuses but with clarity. Earth has been accused of violating technological development protocols. This accusation is technically correct. However, the Treaty of Centauri Prime specifically restricted antimatter weapons development. It made no mention of dark matter applications. Murmurs rippled through the chamber as various delegates communicated in their native tongues. Ambassador Clythe of the Valoth Confederacy, a massive entity composed of interwoven tentacles and neural clusters, surged forward. His translator unit projected his thoughts with unmistakable aggression. The treaty's intent was clear, Clythe's synthetic voice boomed. Humanity was granted observer status in this council precisely because your species was deemed technologically immature. Dark matter manipulation was assessed to be centuries beyond your capabilities. This sudden advancement suggests outside interference or theft of protected technologies. Rhodes allowed himself a small smile. Humanity has always excelled when underestimated, Ambassador. We developed this technology independently. Perhaps your developmental models need revision. The Council's archivist, an ancient being named Talvik whose gossamer form floated within a specialized containment field, drifted toward the center of the chamber. Its voice emerged as a whisper that somehow reached every corner of the vast room. For the historical record, when humanity was granted limited council membership 32 standard cycles ago, your species had barely achieved interstellar travel. The technological leap to dark matter manipulation in mere decades defies all known developmental patterns. Before Rhodes could respond, the chamber doors parted to admit Captain Nora Vance. Her uniform bore the insignia of Earth's United Defense Force, and her confident stride captured the attention of every delegate. She carried nothing but wore a neural interface visible as a delicate silver circlet around her temples. With a subtle gesture, Vance projected a holographic display that expanded to show Earth's solar system. Orbiting in the darkness beyond Neptune were 15 vessels unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Their hulls absorbed rather than reflected light, appearing as voids against the stars. The Neptune Defense Fleet, Vance announced, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to command. Each vessel utilizes dark matter for propulsion, defensive shielding, and energy projection. They cannot be detected by conventional sensors, can traverse vast distances without entering hyperspace corridors, and their defensive capabilities can withstand directed energy weapons of any classification currently deployed within Council space. The chamber descended into chaos. The Mexorian delegate, a hivemind controlling a dozen synchronized bodies, moved threateningly toward the humans. This upsets the balance of power. Humans were assigned as a buffer species between the major powers, not to become a military threat. Jerax's crystalline form flashed with patterns of authority as the High Counselor called for order. Captain Vance, what precisely are humanity's intentions with this fleet? Why reveal its existence now? Vance's expression remained professional. Our intentions are simple, survival. We developed these vessels after detecting coordinated strikes against our outer colonies. The Proxima Centauri massacre last cycle was the final confirmation of our suspicions. The Jaxiri representative, a reptilian diplomat named Thravix, rose on his hind limbs in protest. We conducted no such attack. This is fabrication designed to justify military expansion. Vance touched her neural interface again. The hologram shifted to display footage of ships bearing Jaxiri markings bombarding a human settlement. Buildings collapsed as civilians fled for inadequate shelters. The timestamp and spatial coordinates were clearly visible. We lost 17,000 colonists, Vance said, her voice now edged with controlled anger. Including 4,000 children, the attack was coordinated with precision and executed with technology that matched Jaxiri energy signatures. A heavy silence fell across the chamber. Rhodes stepped forward again. Humanity joined this council in good faith. We followed your regulations, paid your tariffs, and accepted limited participation in governance. But we never agreed to remain defenseless while our colonies were systematically targeted. The ancient archivist Talvik drifted closer. There is historical precedent to consider. When the Valosian Republic faced extinction from Dren expansion, they developed quantum displacement technology despite explicit restrictions. The Council ultimately recognized their right to survival. This situation is fundamentally different, countered Ambassador Clive. Humans are not facing extinction. They are ambitious, unpredictable, and now armed with technology that renders our defense systems obsolete. Rhodes smiled without warmth. Perhaps that's what truly concerns this council. Not that humans might become conquerors, we've shown no such ambition in 3 decades of membership, but that we can no longer be controlled. The hologram changed again, displaying a map of human colonies. Small, scattered outposts mostly on resource-poor worlds or harsh environments that other species had deemed unworthy of development. We've taken the scraps you've allowed us and built prosperity, Captain Vance continued. We've developed technologies you deemed impossible because we had to survive where others wouldn't bother. The Dark Matter program wasn't born from aggression but necessity. High Counselor Jerax conferred quietly with the Inner Circle members before addressing the chamber again. The Council recognizes humanity's right to self-defense, but these developments cannot go unaddressed. We propose immediate negotiations to establish protocols for this new technology. With respect, Rhodes countered firmly, we didn't come to negotiate limitations. We came to inform the Council that humanity will no longer accept subordinate status. We've earned full membership rights, including unrestricted technological development within our sovereign space. Ambassador Clive's tentacles writhed with agitation. This is extortion. This is evolution, Rhodes corrected. The Council evolves or it becomes irrelevant. Earth extends its hand in genuine partnership as equals. Captain Vance deactivated the hologram. To demonstrate our commitment to peace, we're sharing schematics for dark matter detection systems. Your civilizations can verify our ship's positions and capabilities at any time. We have nothing to hide anymore. High Counselor Jerax's crystalline form darkened ominously. The Council requires time to deliberate on this revelation. This session is temporarily adjourned. As the delegates filed out, tension thick enough to cut hung in the chamber. Rhodes and Vance remained on the platform, alone but unbowed. They'll never accept us as equals, Vance murmured when the last delegate had departed. They don't have to accept it, Rhodes replied quietly. They merely have to acknowledge it. How much time do we have before the rest of the fleet is ready? Admiral Heyerdahl reports the Jupiter contingent will be operational within 14 days. The Mars defense perimeter is already active. Rhodes nodded, gazing at the empty seats of power that had dictated humanity's place in the galaxy for too long. Then we have 14 days to convince them that partnership is preferable to conflict. And if diplomacy fails, Vance asked, though she already knew the answer. Then humanity stands alone, Captain, as we always have when it truly mattered. 3 hours later, the Council reconvened. The atmosphere had shifted from shock to calculation. High Counselor Jerax's voice carried throughout the chamber with unmistakable finality. After deliberation, the Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding Earth's unauthorized technological advancement. While we acknowledge humanity's right to self-defense, the development of dark matter weaponry represents an existential threat to galactic stability. Rhodes felt a chill run down his spine as Jerax continued. Therefore, Earth is hereby ordered to surrender all dark matter technology and vessels to Council authority within 7 rotations. Failure to comply will result in immediate military intervention by the combined Council forces. Captain Vance's hand moved subtly to her neural interface as Rhodes stepped forward one last time. The Council has made its position clear, he said, his voice betraying no emotion. Allow me to make Earth's position equally clear. With a gesture from Vance, the hologram activated again. But this time it showed not 15 ships but hundreds deployed throughout the Sol system and beyond, in positions that would give them strategic advantage against any incoming Council fleet. The Defiance. The Galactic Council's emergency session reconvened 72 hours after Earth's stunning revelation. The majestic Grand Chamber, normally a place of measured debate and calculated diplomacy, now hummed with barely contained panic. Representatives from 23 spacefaring civilizations huddled in anxious clusters, their usual formalities abandoned in the face of humanity's unexpected defiance. High Counselor Jerax's crystalline form pulsed with erratic patterns of deep crimson and amber, colors that the council members recognized as indicators of extreme agitation. The session began without the customary rituals. The Strategic Assessment Committee has completed its analysis of Earth's dark matter fleet, Jerax announced, voice modulator struggling to maintain its usual composure. The findings are concerning. A holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber, showing simulated engagements between Council forces and Earth's dark matter vessels. In each scenario, the Council's numerical advantage was rendered meaningless by the humans' technological superiority. Ambassador Clythe's neural clusters visibly pulsed beneath his translucent skin. These simulations assume the humans' claims about their technology are accurate. We have no confirmation. We have confirmation, interrupted Thravix, the Jaxiri representative who had previously denied involvement in attacks on human colonies. The reptilian diplomat's scales had paled to an ashen gray. 6 hours ago, a Jaxiri scouting contingent attempted to penetrate the Proxima Centauri system to assess human defenses. Of 12 advanced stealth frigates, only one returned. The chamber fell silent. The survivor reports that human vessels emerged from nowhere, no hyperspace signature, no subspace distortion. They simply appeared, fired precisely targeted energy weapons unlike anything we've encountered, and vanished again. The entire engagement lasted less than 2 minutes. Director Elias Rhodes and Captain Nora Vance entered the chamber then, accompanied by a new figure, Fleet Admiral Hikaru Takano, whose stern expression and decorated uniform commanded instant attention. Unlike the previous session, the human delegation now moved with the confidence of equals, not supplicants. The Jaxiri incursion was detected and neutralized, Admiral Takano stated without preamble. We considered it an act of war, but in the interest of peace, we allowed one vessel to return with a message. Before any council member could object to this directness, Takano activated his own holographic display. It showed the positioning of Earth's dark matter fleet, now revealed to number over 500 vessels, stationed at strategic points throughout Council space. Some were within striking distance of major homeworlds. These ships have been in position for months, Takano continued, his calm voice belying the devastating implications of his words. They could have struck at any time, they didn't. Remember that when you consider your next move. High Counselor Jerax's crystalline form vibrated with suppressed emotion. This is an act of aggression that cannot stand. You threaten the sovereign territories of Council members. Director Rhodes stepped forward, his diplomatic experience evident in his measured response. We disagree with that characterization, Counselor. No human vessel has fired without provocation. We have merely positioned our fleet to ensure mutually assured consequences should the Council choose military action. Ambassador Clythe surged forward, tentacles writhing. The Council demands the immediate withdrawal of all human vessels from Council space. And Earth demands an immediate end to covert operations against human settlements, Captain Vance countered. We also demand a full investigation into the attacks on our colonies, with appropriate reparations and justice for the victims. The ancient archivist Talvik drifted between the opposing groups, its gossamer form seeming to absorb some of the tension in the room. Perhaps we should acknowledge certain realities. The balance of power has shifted. Threats will not restore the previous order. For a moment, the chamber was silent as this truth settled upon the assembled delegates. Then, from the back of the chamber, a voice spoke, Commander Rexel of the Andorian Collective, a species known for their pragmatic approach to galactic politics. The humans have achieved what we believed impossible. Rather than threatening them with force we cannot effectively deploy, perhaps we should be asking how they managed this technological leap and what else they might be capable of. This suggestion sent a new wave of murmurs through the chamber. If humans could master dark matter technology in mere decades, what other advancements might they be concealing? Admiral Takano exchanged glances with Rhodes and Vance before addressing the Council again. Earth is prepared to share certain aspects of our dark matter research with the Council under specific conditions. Primary among these is full membership status and the establishment of a joint commission to investigate the attacks on our colonies. High Councilor Jerax's form briefly darkened to near black before returning to its normal luminescence, a sign of internal conflict among the hivemind that comprised the being's consciousness. When Jerax spoke again, the artificial voice carried a new tone of reluctant respect. The Council must deliberate on these proposals. This development represents the most significant disruption to galactic stability in over 3 centuries. As the Council members withdrew for private consultation, Admiral Takano turned to Rhodes. They're stalling for time, hoping to find a weakness in our defenses. Rhodes nodded. Of course they are. And somewhere in this building, covert communications are being sent to fleet commanders, ordering them to prepare for a coordinated strike against Earth. Let them try, Captain Vance said quietly. Operation Umbra is already in effect. 12 hours later, as the Council deliberation continued behind closed doors, the galaxy witnessed an unprecedented demonstration of power. Simultaneously, across 17 key military installations throughout Council space, critical defense systems suddenly went offline. Communications arrays failed. Weapon platforms powered down. For precisely 5 minutes, the most heavily fortified locations in the galaxy lay defenseless, and then, just as mysteriously, all systems reactivated. The message was unmistakable. When the Council session reconvened, the atmosphere had transformed. Where there had been hostility and threat, now there was cautious reassessment. High Councilor Jerax addressed the human delegation with newfound formality. The Council acknowledges humanity's technological advancements. We are prepared to discuss terms for elevated status within the Council framework, contingent upon certain security assurances. Director Rhodes maintained his diplomatic composure, but a slight smile played at the corner of his mouth. Earth is gratified by the Council's willingness to engage in constructive dialogue. However, we are no longer seeking elevated status. We are proposing a fundamental restructuring of the Council itself, one that recognizes the sovereignty and technological self-determination of all member species. Ambassador Clythe's tentacles coiled tightly. You overreach, human. The Council has existed for millennia. Its hierarchical structure maintains galactic stability. A stability that benefits the founding species while constraining the development of newer members, Captain Vance pointed out. That system is no longer sustainable, not when one of those lesser species can deploy technology that renders your defenses obsolete. The ancient archivist Talvik drifted into the center of the chamber, its ethereal form glowing with unusual intensity. In my 17,000 years of recording Council proceedings, I have witnessed 12 major restructurings. Each occurred when power balances shifted significantly. Perhaps it is time for the 13th. For 3 days, negotiations continued with increasing intensity. Threats gave way to bargaining, which eventually yielded to pragmatic acceptance. The Council's structure, unchanged for over 1,000 years, would be reformed. Earth would not only gain full membership but would lead a new technological exchange initiative that promised to elevate all species, not just the founding members. On the final day, as the new accords were prepared for ratification, Admiral Takano stood alone with Director Rhodes on an observation deck, overlooking the Council homeworld's magnificent ringed horizon. They still don't understand what really happened, do they? Takano asked quietly. Rhodes shook his head. They believe we achieved a technological miracle through human ingenuity alone. None of them suspect the truth. That 30 years ago, when we first joined the Council, we discovered evidence of an ancient civilization that had mastered dark matter technology and then mysteriously vanished, Takano continued. That everything since, our seemingly humble acceptance of scraps, our careful development of undesirable worlds, was calculated to conceal our excavation of their artifacts.